Howdy YouTubers. I'm going to give a quick update on the layout as we roll into 2025, just in case anyone hasn't seen the channel, and for those of you who have seen the channel, we'll take a look at the progress in the layout so far. So I'm going to start at this end, which is actually would be the north end of the layout. And this is a CSX yard, also Conrail. So it's during the transition period where we have both Conrail and CSX. And it's a yard from which they pull trains out into the Providence and Worcester section of the layout, which we'll talk about shortly. This is United Steel, which actually exists in East Hartford, Connecticut. It's not 100% to prototype. That's a scratch-built kit I made. It's lighted on the inside with fiber optics, so you can kind of see some interior detail. And there's also a signal light here, which is scratch-built. So when there's a car in the back, it's lit red, and as the train moves into the clear, it should switch over to green. There's a bit of a delay there. That way the operator knows how far they are into the building. So it holds two cars. And then if you look out going south and you look at the backdrop, that's actually looking across what would be the Connecticut River. So this is, technically this would be East Hartford. It's not exactly prototypical in terms of where the tracks are in East Hartford, but across the river you see the skyline of Hartford, Connecticut. And then in the foreground we've got some just other random buildings. So try to give it some depth by overlapping different things in the backdrop. And then the CSX yard takes a sweeping curve here. And these are Walther's curve turnouts, 24, 28-inch curve turnouts. Everything else is Pico turnouts on this layout. The other thing on this turn is there's a Iowa Scaled Engineering squealer. So as the trains go over that curve, you hear the squealing. It works better when you've got a train, but gives the illusion of flame squeal as they're making that sharp turn. And then in the background here is Sims Metal, which is also, it's in East Hartford. Sims Metal is all over the country, I think. They've acquired a bunch of scrap yards. So this is a metal scrap yard. It holds two cars. All my industries have gates that open. So when you're switching, you open the gate. There's also a derailleur down here, which you would open or close. So that's closed and you open it. So that's the scrap yard. So in the CSX territory, you have the steel industry and you have the scrap yard. Each hold two cars. So there's 4 cars that can be switched here. So someone could be switching this area while someone's switching Providence and Worcester. And what happens is CSX or Conrail will pull out a cut of cars and it'll bring it out here to Providence and Worcester and put it on one of these two interchange tracks. And then Providence and Worcester will come out and switch all the industries you see in this section of the layout. So starting on this end, we've got Bombachi Foods, which is a 3-car plant. It has 10 cars, which can either be vegetable oil or corn syrup. And you see we've got lighting on the loading platform. There's hoses there to unload the 10 cars. Then we have Boxcar, which brings in packaging materials, etc. And then the next spot is pressurized hoppers. So that brings either salt or flour. And so there's really like 3 industries in one siding. This would be the main line, and then you've got a runaround here to do a lot of your switching moves. Gates on this industry. There's a derailleur here as well. And the next industry is Ballard Printing and Publishing. So that's a paper goods plant. It takes in 2 boxcars of paper rolls. And it also has working gates. And in the background, you'll see these are all scratch-built foam poles. We've got this stretchy wire, transformers, various details. And then if you move up here in the foreground, this is really the Providence and Worcester area, the main area of their yard, regional area. So this is their engine facility where they can service 2 engines. It's for fueling and light maintenance. So there's a shed here, and then across the way is their regional headquarters. And inside there's some styrene details. There's a couple of guys in there, the desk, the computer. And then we go, so now we're going east. And as we go east, there's an overpass. And if you're from New England, you'll recognize the Dunkin' truck as well as possibly the city fish market in Connecticut. So as you go under the overpass, you come into two other industries. One is the ADM corn syrup facility, and that takes in 3 cars of corn syrup. It's got gates, and I'm just going to move this RDC out of the way. And then we have Northeast Distribution and Cold Storage, which holds 2 cars, a refrigerated mechanical reefer and a box car. And that's got a gate as well. And then as you move further east on the layout, you come to the new section, which has just been added. And it's a bit of a mess right now, but what this is going to be is a maintenance away area for the railroad, for Providence and Worcester. So they've got a maintenance away flat car. It's got an OTM tracker with ties and 2 buildings. And these buildings were built by Roy Sharp, one of my subscribers in the UK. And I'm adding a couple of details, roof details and air conditioner. I'll put some gates around there. We'll put in a parking space, some piles of ballast, other details, used ties, and got some scratch built lighting, floodlights here with LEDs, a couple of street lights or lighting for the facility, and there'll be power lines that join up to the existing power lines, and then one feeds over here across the tracks to this building. On the other side, this building is going to be extended out. This will be a blank wall. There won't be windows. This is just a placeholder, and then there'll be 1 truck loading bay. And there's going to be a gate here so that you could put 1 car here just for overflow. So that industry could actually put 3 cars. Right now it takes 2. And then there's a parking area with 2 street lights. Those are also scratch built, LED lit. So we'll have that all paved, and there'll be a couple of cars parked there for this building mainly. So we got the main line, and then we've got the siding, which is a maintenance away siding. So that gives you 2 additional cars to switch. So that's the layout from end to end. A couple of details. The ADM facility, let's just look at that quick. This is a more recent addition where it was previously just empty inside, and I scratch built the interior detail of that and added some lighting. So it's got an unloading platform for the truck. It's got some stainless steel tanks in the back and a couple of offices. Actually an office and a boiler room. And if I tip that, you might be able to see the lights up on the inside. It's LED in boxes, so that just slides on there. Easily when we're not on camera, but there we go. So there's that detail. We're adding lighting, as you've seen, the interior there. Also, there's lighting on the outside of this diesel facility. And then further down this way, I think you saw the lighting at the Bombachi Foods, but there's also lighting going on here at the scrap plant. So there's scratch built floodlights, and if you look inside that building, the office for the scrapyard, you'll see a couple guys sitting in the office. And also getting into signaling. So we have dwarf signals on this main curved turnout, which will take you either to the yard or to the main line. So it's hooked to a tortoise machine. So when I flip this, moves it, and at the same time, it sets a signal to say that it's a line for the yard. If I flip it back down the other way, You see that signal turns to green to let the train know it's aligned for the main. And there's also, actually back this way, there's track signaling to identify when a block is filled. And it's really, because this is an end-to-end layout, let me just put a car here. Because it's an end-to-end layout, the block really just ends. So what that light does is it tells the operator when you're reaching the end of the layout, essentially, or when you're in the block, it'll turn red. So as long as there's a train in that block, it'll stay red. And as soon as that train comes out of the block, it'll go green. So we've got those in a couple of different areas of the layout. What else? That's it. The lighting valance is just strip LEDs. There's one along here, and then there's one on the inside of the fascia board. And that way you give straight down lighting and lighting going backwards, so you get a nice illumination. And it goes the full length, including this new addition here. And two other things to talk about to wrap it up. One is this motorman, which I've shown in prior videos. This is Iowa Scale of Engineering. So you can put it on normal, which runs DCC. If you flip it over to motorman, it'll automate the train. So in this case, I've got this New Haven RDC, and it will run that train back and forth. Since it's an end-to-end layout, it doesn't go in circles. Here we go. So it'll take that train all the way down to the end of the CSX yard there. And at the end of that CSX main line is a sensor. It's an infrared sensor that is triggered by that train. And once it triggers that sensor, the motorman will slow the train down, put the brakes on, put it in the other direction, and send it back down to the other end of the layout, where it'll do the same. So you can run infinitely back and forth. It's a good thing to have if you're showing the layout, or if you're out here working on the layout, you want something running. So I could basically set it up to run any of the engines. So I can put a small maintenance away train together and have that run back and forth. I've got this Sperry rail car, which is a track inspection car, that can run back and forth. So it's kind of a neat thing to have on a layout like this that goes from end to end. And the last bit is this proto throttle, which I'm sure a lot of you have seen. This is a wireless control system that's meant to look like the inside of a train engine, and any of the engines can be run off that. You select which engine number. So that makes it a bit more enjoyable. But I also have the regular controllers, NCE, so you can run using those as well. So that is an update starting 2025. Upcoming this year is going to be finishing off that east end of the layout. And also a lot more operations videos where we're running trains. I think I'm getting to a point where there's enough finished that we'll start running trains. And let me just, I'll end by, nice thing about this motorman is if you want to do a manual override, you hit manual, and for example, I can just reverse the train, and it'll stop and it'll go the other direction before it hits the sensor. And the reason I want to do that is to show you that squealer as it rounds the curve here. Let's see how that sounds. All right, so that's it. So looking forward to posting more videos in 2025. I'll try to heavy up on the operations to actually run these trains for you, because I know you like that. And as we add more details, which there's plenty to add, I'll be sure to do the how-to videos and just keep the content coming. I appreciate all your support in 2024. Thank you, subscribers, and everybody have a good, healthy new year. Cheers.